When you think of movie duos, you probably think of iconic best friends or police partners, but the most acclaimed movie duo of all time is a jailed serial killer and the FBI trainee agent who interviews him for help on a new case.
You use Evian skin cream. And sometimes you wear lead at home. But not today.
In addition to being only the 7th Best Actor, Best Actress winner featured in the same film, the American Film Institute named Dr. Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins, the #1 movie villain of all time, and Agent Clarice Starling, played by Jodie Foster, as the #1 movie heroine of all time. So, join us as we take a look back at the entire cycle of 5 Hannibal Lecter films and 2 television shows, one for Dr. Lecter and one for Agent Starling. All told, only once did Foster and Hopkins star together in this ever-evolving franchise, but boy did they leave a mark. Though their characters will forever be linked, as of now, they cannot even appear in the same property together. Dr. Hannibal Lecter and FBI agent Clarice Starling's origins came from a series of books by Thomas Harris. All of Harris's first 5 novels have been turned into films, starting with 1977's fictionalized attempted terrorist attack at the Super Bowl, Black Sunday. Agent Starling appeared in 2 of Harris's books, The Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal, and Dr. Lecter appears in 4. Although, surprisingly, the cannibal never took the head of the table in Harris's novels or films until after the massive success of the film adaptation of The Silence of the Lambs. Dr. Lecter's introduction was in the book Red Dragon. Similar to The Silence of the Lambs in Red Dragon, Dr. Lecter is a jailed serial killer whom an FBI agent interviews while on the track of a different serial killer, the Tooth Fairy, who's still at large. Although there were many fan theories as to which real-life figure inspired the character of Dr. Lecter, Harris mostly put that to rest in the introduction to the 25th anniversary edition of The Silence of the Lambs. Harris's inspiration for the highly cultured cannibal came from his journalist days working for the Waco Tribune-Herald when he visited a Mexican prison to profile an American inmate who had attempted a prison escape. The subject was shot by a police officer and saved by the prison surgeon, whom Harris had given the fictional name of Dr. Salazar. Dr. Salazar's method of speech was direct and full of puns and cultural prolectivities, which fascinated Harris. Only upon leaving did Harris learn that the surgeon himself was also an inmate serving a life sentence for murder. The man whom Harris describes as Dr. Salazar is reportedly inspired by Alfredo Balay Trevino, who was not a cannibal. But Harris was drawn to him because of how well-read he was and the fact that he came from a prestigious and educated family. He also liked wordplay and was open to discussing his observed details into the psychology of the other inmates. These are all elements that Harris instilled in his fictional Lecter, attributes that make him such a famous character, charming and refined, yet a monster. In turning the surgeon into a psychiatrist, Harris was able to use his creation as a serial killer profiler while also being behind bars as a serial killer.
5'10", strongly built, about 180 pounds. Hair blonde, eyes pale blue. He'd be about 35 now. He said he lived in Philadelphia, but may have lied. That's all I can remember, Mom. But if I think of any more, I will let you know. Oh, and Senator, just one more thing. Love your suit.
Red Dragon was the first book adaptation made into the 1986 film Manhunter, where Dr. Lecter was played by Brian Cox. In the book and film, Lecter assists the FBI profiler who caught him, Agent Will Graham, played by William Peterson, while Graham attempts to piece together the methods of a serial killer that Lecter has actually corresponded with through personal ads.
I want you to help me, Dr. Lecter. Yes, I thought so.
Director Michael Mann said that throughout production, producer Dino De Laurentiis desired an increase in Lecter's screen time, but Mann resisted, saying on the movie's commentary track, "I wanted the audience to almost not quite get enough of him." Though reviews of Manhunter were mixed at the time and it drastically underperformed at the box office, it became a highly acclaimed cult film, and Mann's template of keeping Lecter a secondary character was replicated in the next film adaptation.
Good morning.
Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starling. May I speak with you?
The Silence of the Lambs is one of only 3 films to win all 5 of the major Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Actress, and Best Actor. But even though his presence hangs over the entirety of the film, Hopkins is only on screen for 16 minutes of the movie's total runtime. Though Hopkins played the Doctor 3 times, the role was almost never his. Gene Hackman partnered with Orion Pictures to purchase the rights to Harris's book in 1989, with eyes to not only star as Lecter, but also to direct the film. But after playing such a dark role in Mississippi Burning, the actor wanted to take a reprieve from such material, and with his desire to star in it gone, so too was his desire to direct the film. Instead, directing duties went to Jonathan Demme, who had just directed Orion's Michelle Pfeiffer FBI informant comedy, Married to the Mob. Jodie Foster had actually attempted to purchase the rights to Harris's book herself, but was beaten to the punch by Hackman. With the rights gone, Foster could only lobby for a role that meant so much to her on a personal level. When John Hinckley Jr. attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan in 1981, he admitted to wanting to impress Jodie Foster and carry out what Robert De Niro wasn't able to do in Taxi Driver. Because of this attention, Foster was given FBI security while attending Yale. So part of what drew her to the role was the intelligence and dignity in the FBI that she had witnessed firsthand. The thing that I really love about Clarice Starling is that this may be one of the first times I've seen a female hero that's not a female steroid version of Arnold Schwarzenegger. This wasn't a woman running around in her underwear with a machine gun. Clarice is very competent and she's very human. She combats the villain with her emotionality, intuition, her frailty, and vulnerability. I don't think there's ever been a female hero like that. For as menacing and bewitching as Hopkins is, The Silence of the Lambs is Starling's story. Foster plays an FBI trainee who is given the undesirable task of getting Lecter to sign papers to commit to a psychological profile. What Lecter would rather do is give a psychological profile on another still-at-large serial killer, Buffalo Bill, played by Ted Levine. I love the relationship between Lecter and Clarice. I think she has a respect for him because she sees him as a human being and because she's not judgmental. That doesn't mean that she condones his behavior or that she doesn't fear him, but she wants to know him. The one thing she has in common with Lecter is dignity.
Because Manhunter struggled to earn back only half of its budget, Dino and his wife Martha De Laurentiis, who owned the rights to the Hannibal Lecter character, had given the rights to the sequel for free.
By doing so, they chose to let Orion make the film, and if it did well, then suddenly they'd have a major asset. After Silence of the Lambs dominated the Oscars and grossed $276 million at the worldwide box office, the character rights to Hannibal Lecter became a huge asset. You might say it aged finer than the best Chianti. It would become a negotiating factor for the next 3 decades plus. It was the De Laurentiises who would fly down to Miami on a yearly basis to check on Harris's status of writing a sequel to The Silence of the Lambs to cash in on their new company Cornerstone.
The events in Hannibal the book were set 1 decade after The Silence of the Lambs, and by the time the movie was released, it had been exactly a decade between films.
Hannibal finally put Hannibal Lecter at the forefront of the entire narrative. This time, after a raid goes awry, Agent Starling is at a career low point and lured into finding Lecter's whereabouts before one of his previous victims is able to enact an elaborate plot of revenge. Harris's new novel was the first book that dethroned Harry Potter from the top of the bestseller list, but reactions were incredibly mixed, including from 3 of the Lamb's Oscar winners. Prior to reading the manuscript, Foster, Hopkins, Demme, and screenwriter Ted Talley all desired to return for the sequel, but Foster, Talley, and Demme balked at the direction Harris's book went. Alright, cover your ears for 15 seconds if you care about 20-year-old novel spoilers. By the end of Hannibal the novel, Hannibal brainwashes Clarice, who partakes in cannibalism with him, then they become lovers and escape to Argentina. End of novel spoilers.
Doctor, we don't have any more time for any of this now.
The ending of Harris's novel changed with the first screenplay to a slightly less salacious ending between the 2 characters, but Foster still passed. Ultimately, Julianne Moore replaced Foster and Ridley Scott replaced Demme. Hopkins, however, responded to The Guardian by saying, "Just give me my plane ticket and I'll show up." Note, Hopkins also received $11 million to return. Pause. Shout out to actor Frankie Faison, who is the only actor to appear in all of the 4 non-prequel Hannibal Lecter movies.
Hi, I'm Barney.
He played a St. Louis police lieutenant in Manhunter, but also appeared in the next 3 films as Barney, a prison guard in both Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon. And it's Barney who sells the Dr. Lecter memorabilia to open Hannibal.
He thought she was charming and amusing.
So Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter became friendly.
Well, inside a kind of formal structure, yes.
And he was fond of her.
Yes.
Does that make Faison the original Hannibal?
Thanks so much, Barney.
Both Hannibal the book and film leaned into the curious connection between Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling. And though the film earned $350 million worldwide, it was as divisive as the book, not just for how their relationship was rendered, but also much of the violence that Lambs alluded to without directly showing that was more directly shown in Hannibal, making it a acquired taste. Following Hannibal, a different adaptation of Red Dragon was put into immediate production. This time starring Hopkins and opening the film with Hannibal Lecter's exploits instead of through Agent Will Graham's newly accepted case.
I think he meant to use the bolt cutter to enter the house, but he didn't.
The final appearance from Hopkins as Hannibal the Cannibal earned $206 million at the global box office and had better reviews than Hannibal. After 3 successive Lecter hits, De Laurentiis attempted a Hopkins-less prequel from Harris's final Lecter novel, Hannibal Rising, with Gaspard Ulliel in the origins of the cannibal role. Hannibal Rising received dismal reviews and returned Lecter to the same space as his first film appearance, making back half the budget. Hannibal Rising would also be the final worldwide release from the famed Italian producer who died in 2010.
His wife Martha still retains the rights to Lecter and served as an executive producer on the Hannibal television series. Because Martha De Laurentiis owned the rights to Lecter and MGM retained the screen rights for Clarice Starling, only certain characters from Harris's novels could appear. On the NBC series, Mads Mikkelsen played Dr. Lecter, Hugh Dancy played FBI profiler Will Graham, and Lawrence Fishburne played his superior Jack Crawford. The series saw Graham attempting to solve a serial killer case in Minnesota, which is taking a toll on his psyche, so Crawford sends Graham to see a forensic psychiatrist / secret serial killer, Dr. Lecter. The doctor takes a keen interest in Graham's ability to visualize the methodology of the killers he studies.
My thoughts are often not tasty.
No, mine.
Passionate fans who dubbed themselves Fannibals would have to attempt to save the series during each season, with ratings overall for the show too low to renew. But the fandom remains passionate and launched campaign after campaign for the series to continue. But after 3 seasons and 39 episodes, the series was cancelled. Those same issues to rights to specific characters make it so that the new CBS show Clarice cannot even mention Hannibal Lecter by name, even though the series takes place weeks after the events depicted in The Silence of the Lambs. Catherine Martin, Buffalo Bill's captive, and Bill's dog Precious, however, can be mentioned. So too will return the West Virginia senator in the suit, Ruth Martin, and Clarice's best friend at the Academy, Ardelia Mapp. It's been more than 30 years since Clarice and Hannibal teamed up on screen, and more than 20 years since Clarice and Hannibal have shared a scene, meaning their final interaction will be this dinner time conversation.
Clarice, I love the dress. It's beautiful.
What do you love about the pairing of Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling? Sound off in the comments below.